we've felt all along that this property was best developed as a commercial site with proper buffers and proper protection for the neighborhood.
Okay, alrighty, we'll get back to you. Thank you. Oh, is your, okay, thank you, bye. Come on. I guess that's the biggest thing. They're feeling sorry for all the families, and you know, and of course praying that it doesn't happen to them. But it's like not stopping them. You know, they're probably going to book on the DC-9s now and the DC-10s. That always happens after a crash.
If people can find another way around this intersection and not use it, that they should do that. But as I say, we will allow traffic through. It's just, if you do travel through, it's going to be difficult.
When 200 and some out of 300 in some school districts outperform us in basic reading, we have to have concern. I'm asking you to be just as concerned, just as dedicated and supportive of our upcoming efforts to improve teaching and learning as you have been tenacious and supportive of our efforts to balance budgets and bring accountability to our organization.
That's foolhardy. The people the governor wants to benefit are not the families of the students with the greatest needs. They're the families of the students who support the governor.
My daughter was in the kitchen and she heard some noise at the back door. She didn't know what it was, so she went back there and checked, and it was Anita from next door. And my daughter says, "Ma, come here, come here. It's Anita. There's something wrong. I don't know what happened to her. She's bleeding and everything."
you say it's just tied up somewhere?
We're trying to find out where.
Had a system for preserving the evidence.
What we might do at the police department, if they continue, is explore the possibility of maybe having our localized regional bomb response team, and hopefully we won't have to do that.
Talk about the most recent piece of garbage that the Republican Senatorial Campaign Committee spot. We call.
I feel that he's been unjustly characterized because when we were in fear of losing our federal funds to assist us in having our 2 drug task forces in northern Minnesota, he helped us make sure that those funds continue to come to the state.
5% of their sentences. Crime victims carry their scars for life. But ultra-liberal Paul Wellstone voted to let violent criminals out of jail before they serve their full sentence. Call. Tell Paul.
When I was over in the city, I used to work for the city all last summer, and finally finished. Well, I think that the community wanted to reflect the character, the diversity, the richness of life that comes from sharing their lives, from their connections with the earth, and from the sense of community that's represented here.
Well, when they see the results and see the actual material going on the beach and how it is even a better condition than the material that's original on the beach, they, as I said, they are supporting us in it now.
What makes you drive, 200 miles to come and see a country star?
My mother.
Mother, what's all this about?
Well, he's a good singer, why not?
Because he's number 1, and he's so good looking.
Larry.
Thanks, Tim. Should I just throw it in the front seat on that one then? Great. We're done.
Mounted police, kids' activities, just from 9 to 10.
Okay. And where does the money go directly to hospitals, and what kind of cancer?
Well, there's all kinds of services that the American Cancer Society provides. For example, around 700 people last year were helped in the way of rides to and from treatment, hospital equipment they might need at home, basic services, even emotional support. So it doesn't need to be something specifically in the hospital, it can be something in the home.
And what about the grocery bagging that the celebrities, whatever you'd like to call them, how are they going to help out?
Well, what we add the celebrity baggers for is just to heighten awareness.
And they've said that they're accepting to some type of a compromise, and hopefully this is a compromise that they can accept. Those people that were upset over the foghorn, that haven't been able to sleep, have expressed their satisfaction with the compromise as well.
So divine, which is incredible. I mean, his prices are through the end of August, but actually, he's been painting for quite a number of years. He grew up in Duluth. He went to East High School, so he's really a local Duluthian. But he's been painting Rossport since '93. His paintings are very reasonably priced, which is always an asset. If you're a collector and looking for some wonderful part of Minnesota to take home with you.
Nobody knows at this point what's beneath the surface. Certainly the possibility of other materials that could be hazardous still remains, so additional investigation will have to take place.
It's great. Beautiful day. Bayfront from Burnsville. Came up, enjoy the weather. It's great.
The issues seem to be escalating. The antagonism is escalating, and I would hope to put an end to that, to cut through the misinformation that is circulating and put everyone on a level playing field and hope to compromise on both sides.
What I am hopeful for in this process, and the reason I agreed to participate and in fact wanted to participate, was I felt that this was a process that hasn't been used before, that offers a hope for finding common ground within that spectrum of the traditional positions. So I'm hopeful that we'll be able to discover that common ground and reach some sort of consensus.
It's only the second day the negotiating committees on the BWCA and Voyagers Park have met, and controversy is already in the air. CWCS spokesman Todd Endahar released a statement calling the mediation a joke and attacking negotiator Chuck Dayton. It states, quote, Dayton is the person responsible for destroying our way of life in 1978. He has bragged publicly in writing about how he deceived us and Congress in 1978 mediation process. We don't mediate with liars, and we don't mediate broken promises, unquote. Dayton says that's simply not true.
Well, I was there, and the people who were attacking it weren't there. I know what the facts are, and they don't, and what they've said is just not true.
Dayton is one of the 2 lawyers representing the Minnesota Wilderness and Parks Coalition, and one of only 3 men on both the BWCA and Voyagers Park committees. In 1978, he negotiated on behalf of environmentalist groups for a pure wilderness bill. He says this is an issue that's very heartfelt.
I have the advantage or disadvantage to be emotionally involved with it. I mean, I believe in it. It's something that comes from the heart, and so maybe that's what they're talking about. I feel deeply about some of these issues.
Dayton says he represents a pure wilderness viewpoint that he claims is shared by Minnesotans. As for the attacks, Dayton says CWCS had the chance to participate in mediation and wonders what they could be afraid of.
I think perhaps they don't understand that this is a consensus process that can only work if everyone agrees. They have the opportunity to participate, and if they're not in agreement with the process, there will be no recommendation.
The committees are expected to set a date for formal negotiations this evening. In Duluth, Tamika Snowden, Channel 6 News.
Enhance the likelihood that you'll go in different directions, but rather set up a process and a mechanism that instead enhances the likelihood that your different perspectives can be discussed, but that the ultimate outcome
that gives us a 90% yes.
We had one of our bankers do a study for us, and they said that over 10 years we could save $22.5 million. And the study that the 3 co-ops did, it came down to $13.5 million.
No, not at all. I'm very fearful. I'm very fearful that something could possibly happen to me. I've been threatened already, and again, I feel that I have to be extremely careful.
This guy's name worked for Sam for years, and he didn't pay him minimum wage. Didn't pay Social Security taxes, no withholding.
First.
Well, that's putting it mildly or politely.
I can tell you this, that we went through probably 3 years of horror between threatening phone calls, break-ins at the house, the fire at the house, vandalism to our cars, all those kinds of things, calls to relatives.
He was directly...
For 38 months, none of that happened. That's all. Work upstairs. She was scared to death. She left town and hid out. When she finally came back to town, she told us he had shot her in the chest.
Most of the children that have been in car seats seem to do amazingly well. There may have been a crack to the car seat or something, but usually the child has been very well protected.
Well, at about 6:30 last night, we got a report that a young boy had been diving near the base of a waterfall and had not surfaced. Obviously, we suspected a drowning.
People often ask how Crime Stoppers can pay rewards if we don't know who the callers are. We all know there are crimes where the witnesses need to remain anonymous. A family member or friend may sell stolen goods or be involved with drugs. Some witnesses are also fearful of retaliation. A call to Crime Stoppers remains anonymous because we don't trace or record telephone calls and we don't ask personal questions. The callers are assigned identification numbers, which they use in future callbacks to Crime Stoppers. We don't call them. Once an arrest is made or property is recovered, a reward is authorized by the Crime Stopper Board. Cash is then left for the caller at a prearranged location. There is no need to know the caller's name. Our numbers are 1-800-974-TIPS or 723-ENOUGH. We also encourage you to call if you're interested in getting involved with the work of Crime Stoppers.
This surveillance video captured the suspect who robbed the Cloquet Co-op Credit Union Monday morning. There are 4 cameras placed around the lobby, and all 4 captured the suspect on tape. This is just one of the many security systems this credit union has in place.
We have both the 35mm camera, that is a still photograph type thing that happens when a teller alarm would pull a system, and then we have the videotape that continues all the time, that goes all the time. So the film that was shown last night would be the videotape, and now the 35mm is also being developed, and hopefully we'll get some very clear pictures from that as well.
The 35mm not only develops clear pictures, but police can zoom into a shot to pick up more detail, such as a clothing label or facial detail. But even with these securities in place, the credit union president is still considering adding more.
That's something we always look at because we always want to make sure that we provide a safe working environment for our people. And it's something that we continually analyze. We'll continue to analyze what happened here are the ways that we could do better.
We're full. We don't have a vacant room, and we've been like that. A lot of our guests already made reservations a year ago.
Especially, I think our food and beverage will do very well with these people. I know that I know some racers myself, and I think that they'll show us a good time around here. But it's a great impact and a great way to, unfortunately, end the summer. We still have a pretty decent September coming up, but not the full weekends every week like we had during the summer.
What does the rest of the year look like for you then?
I think
a little of each. We have school kids that are using it. The reports show that the school kids are using marijuana probably at a greater rate than they ever have in the past. The other types of drugs, yeah, we have people that actually come into this city to try to get a drug trade going. There's other people that have lived here all their lives that use drugs and sell them.
Okay, I've talked to a bunch.
We're just a small part of it, being the police department. And it's got to be a community-wide effort, but it's got to start with the parents and it's got to start at home.
As they deliver campaign material for Florian. And this is
Both Senator Florian Chmielewski and Representative Becky Laurie say they've been endorsed by police throughout the state. Well, they both are, kind of. They were each endorsed by police officers, but from different organizations.
I don't think that I would have gotten the endorsement from the Minnesota Police and Peace Officers Association if, in fact, I were soft on crime.
Chmielewski is endorsed by the union in Minneapolis that represents 850 Minneapolis police officers. One member of the MPPOA says their endorsing process doesn't seem democratic.
Whatever police officer group endorses a candidate, then the rank and file of that organization should have had an opportunity to make a decision on who they want to endorse.
Officer Berg says voters need to judge a candidate on their past record, not by the number of endorsements they have.
Anybody can tell me they endorse them, but it doesn't hold a bucket of water as far as I'm concerned.
Little blue card.
In Cloquet, Molly Boyum, Channel 6 News.
Oh, I think...
If we're on television, they won't even see it. Oh, okay. Slide it in this slot. There you go. Okay. Here's your... That's on your coat. There you go.
And Chamber, all of you for coming on such short notice. As you know,
there's two situations going on.
otherwise pretty much on.
Yeah, at the schedule standpoint, gaining that time back. There is a shortage of cement in our area, and that has certainly created some problems and concerns on both the DOT's part and the City of Superior's.
While the Twins were still practicing at the stadium, so it was a lot of fun. Yeah.
Former guard and linebacker Doug Sutherland. You go here, hit you, your whole body's gonna get caved up that way. Try to take a step here.
We get quite a variety, and there are a lot of groups that get involved and maybe have had no previous involvement, but somebody in their workplace or school area gets involved and they get a bunch of other recruits. Write them down for me. On the other side, you can just use hash marks and write them.
You got that shot.
Do we have like a chord list or something like maybe, I don't know, we just...
There's a lady here to see her. Backwards. Oh, pass it.
Do we have like a
That if he rejected the public defender's representation, that they would still be appointed but act as standby counsel and be available to answer any questions that he might have.
Hire an attorney and that can.
Yes, he can. That's his decision to make.
And if a public defender is appointed to him, he can also hire one at any time?
Yes.
Can explode almost immediately. It can explode in 2 hours. It may not explode. And what scares me is with the people making these devices is that they don't know when it's going to explode, and you could end up with holding on to one and suffer some serious injury or injure somebody else as they pass by.
We're not by any means finished this week with this site. Our task right at this time is to remove those barrels which were on the surface and identified. I'm sure we're going to have to get into additional investigation, which would include groundwater monitoring, additional soil sampling, and probably some geological investigation of the whole site.
Well, I thought my life was going to be a lot happier toward the end.
Well, I couldn't get out of there quick enough.
Both of these senior citizens lived at a place called Green Acres in Hermantown. They thought it would be the perfect place to spend their golden years. But both Ann and Virgie say they were abused and neglected by poorly trained, uncaring members of the Green Acres staff.
We were allowed to do the tube feeding. We were allowed to do the insulin shots. I wasn't taught by the RN to give the insulin shots. I was just taught by another girl.
This man is making international waves with his theories on how prisoners should be treated. If inmates are happy in Phoenix's Maricopa County Jail, Sheriff Joseph Arpaio says they'll want to come back.
Jail should be punishment. You should never live better in jail than you do on the outside.
And Sheriff Arpaio means it. Instead of hot lunch, he serves cold sandwiches. And if the bread is moldy, too bad.
If they have no coffee, I give them bologna sandwiches for lunch. It may be green, but so what?
Toll claims life has treated him unfairly. He says not only is he not guilty of aiding and abetting murder, he's also refusing to accept responsibility for the prison infraction that landed him here in solitary confinement.
I don't think I'm guilty. I think I don't think my trial was very fair. Why not? They would not allow the girls to testify against some of the sexual assault that happened, so the jury didn't get to find out everything that happened to the girls and which guys were involved.
what makes me mad, because it didn't have to be. It didn't have to be. I didn't have to be in this situation.
I know the time is short, but I trust God. He'll take care of me.
Every day we pick up the paper, we look to see, and then you'll see former Conwed workers.
Conwed. It's a name that will not soon be forgotten in Cloquet. It's what ties these men and thousands of others together. Lives.
Well, I want to tell you in plain language, they're the rats that cause a lot of these problems.
These are the faces of some of the people who worked with the asbestos material during those 16 years. People like Jack Hamilton, just 62 when he died. Robert Voss, only 65. Gene Bakke, 72 years old when he died. Stanley Fleisch, Bertil Munson, and many, many more. These hard-working men are all dead.
Out. Out. Get your hands up. Hands up. Down on the ground. Down on the ground. Get down. Get down. Get down. Get down. We got more back here. Move your arms out of the way for yourself. All right. Link wide.
Support for a long time, and Bob has been to what you must do, even if it is a long way from here. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound to save a soul like me.
We wanted people to sign pledges of peace and to sign something we were sending around that commits men in particular to doing something in this community.
Did you know that over 70% of breast cancers occur in women with no identifiable risk factors? Although its cause is not known, early detection can greatly increase the rate of successful treatment.
Breast cancer is nothing to be afraid of because breast cancer is not a death sentence. It's a disease, and it's a disease that can be treated and cured if caught early enough.
October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Its symbol is a small pink ribbon used to remind women to conduct monthly self-breast exams, undergo yearly clinical breast exams, and to seek routine mammograms. To help out the effort, the company who made Avon Lady household words has taken on as its own the fight against breast cancer.
Well, Avon started its crusade against breast cancer in October of 1993, and since that time, through the efforts, in fact, the volunteer efforts, really, of the representatives nationwide, we have raised $18 million.
Avon representatives have done that by offering low-cost pink ribbon pens and pink ribbon jewelry.
In fact, our newest is the earrings, of which I'm wearing. They come in clip and pierced, and they will be selling for $3 plus tax.
The aircraft was built in 1951 and served as a North American air defense fighter interceptor in Montana and eastern United States, and finally here at Duluth, Minnesota with the 179th Fighter Interceptor Squadron.
I think by not taking action to end this discrimination, a letter ready to go to the state. I'll never understand the explanation that I've been given. The resolution which is found in the folder back in school that it was the current now therefore be resolved. That's what we're trying to eliminate. Yeah. That's why I'm not overly concerned.
Her trowel rings, indicating that Heidi Ekstrom may be moving faster than she might at another dig. You see, she and Zach Johnson are going down through fill used to cover mill foundations 30 years ago, so they don't expect to find the tiny artifacts they might seek on another dig. And one of the trowels they're using is Greg Larson's backhoe.
So I think let's take a little bit more out here.
Robert Klaus is looking for what's called the tail race of one of the flour mills that lined both sides of First Street, that for more than 50 years produced more flour than anywhere else in the world.
It's ruins like this that they know are under that stuff over there, and they'd like to expose them to give folks like you and me a better appreciation for what it was, the milling industry, that really allowed Minneapolis to take off and grow.
The city intends to make a park here, already has part of it in place at the west end of the Stone Arch Bridge to show off the foundations of the flour mills and make Minneapolis history more available. But Robert Klaus says he and the Historical Society are trying to answer some questions before a big investment is made.
Is there enough here to help tell the story? Is there enough in good enough condition that we can expose these things to weathering and have them survive over the long term? And those are the kinds of things that we need to know.
But Robert Klaus says this project has another goal, to let school kids understand that history is more than that just written in textbooks.
That it's continuing to be written, and that the information that we find in the ground, the history of this place, is being written as we dig.
like that Batman one.
The whole goal here is to have fun with this, to get some of the pumpkins out of the garbage, because we'll take them here and we'll compost them.
Did you like doing the toss too?
Yeah.
Yeah, what'd you like most about it? Having it smash up against the board or just throwing it?
Throwing it.
Throwing it? Gonna come back next year and do it?
Yeah.
I believe that he really was as close as I could get to God.
David Samarzia was a child of 11 the first time his pastor took him to bed and sexually molested him. The abuse would continue for years from the man David worshipped as teacher and friend. Missouri Synod Lutheran pastor Daniel Reeb led young David to believe that what they did was all right.
He kept saying, this is okay, what we're doing, you know, this is okay.
Years later, Pastor Reeb would tell attorneys that it was all David's fault.
I am certain that would have never happened had he not instigated it.
At first, David believed his pastor and blamed himself. He kept the awful secret. What made you, I mean, it was years later that you decided to pursue this through the courts. What made your decision for you?
Gradually, through therapy, I started to realize that, you know, this wasn't my fault. I mean, I was a kid.
But the burden David carried was heavy. At 16, frightened, confused, and depressed, he attempted suicide.
I was very confused, very unsure of myself, and just wanted to give up.
It would be years later, after a failed marriage and an ongoing battle with alcoholism, that David would finally ask for help. With intense counseling, he eventually came to understand why he had hated himself for so long.
We are taught that the pastor is next to God. And how can a child respond or make a statement against someone who is so powerful?
For years, David kept his feelings of guilt and shame to himself, but when he heard that his former congregation was sending a group of young children to stay with Pastor Reeb at his new church, he felt compelled to come forward.
Anybody that was a parent would have done this.
To stop it
Yes.
from happening again?
Yes.
But when church officials refused to take his complaint seriously, David took his case to the courts. There, all the sordid details came out, including Reeb's abuse of several other young boys. Reeb admitted the abuse but continued to blame the child.
He asked if I engaged him. No.
Did he ever engage you in sexual contact?
Yes.
The church settled for undisclosed amounts of money with 3 other men who also brought charges against Reeb for abuse they said they suffered as children in his Duluth congregation. Reeb admitted to sleeping nude with the boys as they shared his bed.
And when these youth would stay over, they would sleep typically with you in your bed, is that correct?
The settlements with those 3 men included gag orders, forbidding them to talk about what happened to them as children or how much money they were paid. But the settlements didn't stop David from exposing the man he once considered the closest thing to God.
He moved my hand on top of him, and I let him masturbate me.
The jury decided the abuse had cost David a lifetime of suffering, to say nothing of thousands of dollars in legal and counseling bills. They awarded him $650,000. But that was 3 years ago, and David has yet to receive the money. Barbara Riles, Channel 6 News.
That green and white Blazer with all the damage to the front end was the target of a search in South Minneapolis. Police say it had just hit this school bus near Lake Street. Channel 11 News heard over the police scanner the alert for the hit-and-run vehicle, and within seconds we spotted it, so we called 911 to report the vehicle's whereabouts. This is Channel 11 following that green Blazer with the white top. The stolen vehicle began going the wrong way on a one-way, cars swerving to avoid it. The vehicle with heavy damage to the front end kept going. Then several miles and some 10 minutes after he's accused of slamming into the school bus, another vehicle was hit. This time it was a Maple Grove motorist who was rammed from behind.
He ran into a tree.
No, he just ran in the back of me and knocked me halfway out in the street, and then I looked back and it looked pretty damaged on his vehicle.
But the damage on the stolen vehicle would soon become even worse as the vehicle missed a corner and struck a streetlight control box at Elliott Park.
He's bailing. I got him.
He's now out of his vehicle at 11th and 14th. So now the foot chase was on. We followed him in our vehicle a ways as police were speeding to the scene. But before they arrived, the suspect ran into the Hennepin County Medical Center and ran through the halls.
Grab your security right there. Grab that guy.
All the way, a Care 11 camera following behind.
Grab him! Grab him!
Then he ran out a back door, and hospital security officers joined the chase. Now, after 2 vehicles had been struck and the stolen vehicle smashed up, the chase entered a parking ramp. It finally ended at an office building next to the Metrodome.
720. One in custody, 1010 South 7.
Police say the suspect, who's a resident of the state of Virginia, would be booked in jail on 3 counts of hit and run and auto theft.
He got the headache. Calm down.
720, was that the driver,
do you know? Yep. Man, stop trying to kill me.
Police say the only one who may have killed someone is this man. They say the way he was driving, they're lucky no one was injured.
But I understand what I'm hearing from people in Minnesota. You need to listen to people. And if we can't do it all at once, then let's at least move forward. Let's make sure that we have affordable health care for children. Let's have home-based health care. Let's have health care for elderly people with dignity and veterans. And I want to say to Minnesotans, I believe that it's just wrong
We don't expect there to be much of a change in hunter numbers. There'll probably be a small decline, maybe 5% or so, less than normal. But most of them go hunting year after year. It's a traditional thing, and they're out there for more than just getting a deer. So we expect that pretty much same number of hunters as last year.
Lake Superior is being contaminated by raw sewage. The sewage is leaking from failing septic systems along the North Shore. A study conducted by Western Lake Superior Sanitary District in 1991 shows that over half of the septic systems tested on the North Shore are faulty. Pete Weedman conducted these tests.
When I failed systems on the shore, I brought the homeowner out and we actually looked at it, and there was no question that the system was failing. For many of those systems that we failed, it was raw wastewater on the surface.
In fact, 7% of residents' drinking water was also of poor quality. WLSSD officials are proposing putting in sewer lines on the North Shore to eliminate the raw sewage contamination.
Residents along Highway 61 say some septic systems are failing and something needs to be done, but they question possible solutions and their price tags.
Sewer lines would cost over $10 million to put in. Operation and maintenance would be an additional $96,000. Residents say it's a big upfront cost they just can't pay.
It would be unaffordable. The community couldn't afford it. It would bankrupt us all.
Gene Elliott says the only way he can afford it is with state or federal funding. He says most of his neighbors, including himself, have mound septic systems that already work well. He can't see paying a high upfront cost when he paid over $12,000 to install his septic system. He says it's the older septic systems that are failing and causing contamination.
If you cruise up the shore with a boat, you can see a few places where sewage is actually going in the lake. But it's not that easy to detect.
John Kessler lives and owns a business on the North Shore. He too is scared of the cost to put in sewer lines.
That's one of my greatest fears, is that the sewer extension or whatever we do, the solution, will be paid for on the backs of the present people, retired, otherwise low-income people, small business people like we are, and then developers will show up with 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 unit condominiums and won't have to pay a penny in order to connect and enjoy the privileges of having the sewer.
WLSSD officials stress that sewer lines will bring growth, and it's up to each city to enforce that future developers who tap into the lines pay their price. They also say state or federal funding is a necessity. This project is still in its early stages. A final decision could still be 3 to 5 years away. On the North Shore, Kim Steininger, Channel 6 News.
Not just shot her, he shot her a number of times, reloaded the weapon, shot again, shot a 10-year-old girl that was in the home, which was her daughter. He shouldn't be out of jail. He should be in jail where he belongs.
Welcome back. I'm Tom Hansen. This week on Sports Sunday, we have a special musical presentation for you. You all know the Green Bay Packers take on Dallas tomorrow night. Maybe some hard rock is what the Packers need to break that 6-game losing streak to Dallas.
Well, I think it's more of a younger age song, too, for younger people. It's not a polka, and it's not, you know, it's more towards everybody. And I mean,
nothing wrong with a polka, though.
Yeah, there is nothing wrong with a polka. Don't get me wrong.
Absolutely not.
Reggie's gonna get to the quarterback. Well, Jones is in for another sack. Well, at the game or on TV, Brett Favre is the MVP. Green Bay Packers, go you Packers, go.
When we play live, sometimes I change all the words. It just depends on the situation. But yeah, I've been saying BB lately instead of Brooks. But
We don't need no dumb luck, cause we all know the Bears still suck.
One thing I've definitely learned that there's Green Bay Packer fans, like, everywhere across the United States. I mean, we get phone calls from anywhere and everywhere.
Titletown, USA. This year they're gonna go all the way. Well, some say that it's too cold. If it's too cold, then you're too old. Lambeau Field. Go you Packers, go, go. Go you Packers, go, go. Go you Packers, go, go. We are won a Super Bowl. Go you Packers, go, go. And the Packers rockin', we'll be rollin'. Go you Packers, go, go.
And all we heard from the house was just a single shot.
So right away we assumed, my father and I assumed, she finally got her trophy buck after all these years.
But instead of finding Danielle's prize buck, Danielle's father found her in a tree stand, bleeding and screaming for help. She was accidentally shot by a 16-year-old boy sitting in a tree stand 50 to 75 yards away. 3 shots were fired. The first whizzed by her. The second one hit her in the hip area.
And then there was a third shot that hit her in the knee, and that she really felt, and then she screamed and hollered for help.
Danielle, or Danny as her friends call her, is in intensive care in St. Mary's Hospital recovering from the weekend accident. She'll spend her 17th birthday there this Friday, but it's the upcoming winter months she's thinking about.
She's been training for the Bear Grease Sister, and then there's a few other races that she wanted to participate in this year, and so she's been training since fall, and she has her winter goals which she wants to accomplish, and I think winter is her most favorite time of the year.
You know, it's close now to winter, and she's put a lot of time into it, but we'll just focus on next year and try and see what we can do for that.
Danny looked forward to the 3rd year in the Bear Grease. She finished 12th in January's 100-mile event. She took 3rd in the recreational division in 1995. Even though she won't compete in this year's Bear Grease, she's already looking forward to many more.
She'll be able to recover. She'll overcome this little setback. She's a strong-willed person. She'll do it.
What would you recommend everyone in the city to be a better citizen?
There we go. Who's next?
I thought his answers were very interesting, and I liked being in his office. It was very neat.
Robert Menard went to the Casa Loma bar with 3 friends last Saturday night. The bartender working at the time knew at least one of the girls was underage. Menard denied he was with underage girls when confronted by the bartender. The situation quickly escalated and the 2 men were yelling at each other.
He came closer and poked again, and at that point I slapped his hand out of the way, but in the process of slapping at his hand, his face was close, and I did brush across his face with my open palm. I didn't intend to hit him. I intended to move his hand out of my face.
Police reports state that Menard hit the bartender in the head with his fist. Menard says it was a slap and was accidental, but acknowledges he lost control and shouldn't have.
But I accept my responsibility for my part in it, particularly since I'm a police officer. Police officers are supposed to behave better, I suppose, than the rest of the public, and it's just a lesson to me as to how easy it is to get involved in one of these kind of disputes that can easily get out of hand.
Menard is on suspended leave with pay while the investigation continues, and he knows there is a good possibility that he will not return to work.
The court process, of course, happens over a period of months before this situation is going to be totally resolved. During that period of time, I'll be considering options as something other than the undersheriff of Vashon County. That's just the way it has to be, that I have to think about.
The point for smokers is to give them the opportunity to practice quitting with the whole nation involved, with a lot of support around, a lot of attention, another step in that process of quitting. And for those who aren't quitting, it might move them along the line of thinking, maybe this is something I should start thinking about.
And then based on the stats and based on everything we know, it is something smokers should think about.
The use of building inspection staff and police officers to determine the viability of and the value of cars in question may result in the loss of valuable collector vehicles that may be in various stages of restoration.
Appreciate if you, when you do something like that again, that you...
It says Pioneer Classic Collector Vehicles.
Maybe we should appreciate the richness of our heritage and the diversity of our yards. But I can put myself in your shoes. You get a call from a constituent complaining that the stuff in someone else's yard, and naturally you want to do something about it. But remember,
I was in Union Optical, and I was just seated in their seating area, and I heard two people come running out of the credit union. And I turned around and glanced, and I just saw from the back that they were running out of the credit union. They had two people, I don't know if they were male or female, they had long coats on, and just, like I said, running and making a lot of noise. And that
our own population, and so we think that due to the efforts of the people to start this project and the uniqueness of it, the beauty of the lake, the location, all of those factors are real important in our consideration.
Entered in the lower part of just under my ear in the neck area.
Medal of Valor is awarded to a person who has distinguished himself or herself by an act of personal bravery or self-sacrifice. The act must have also involved risk of life. April 13th, family was
easily we could find another space. They even lent some staff support, all of the internal work and some window work in a few areas. Other properties we became aware of a very good price for the fourth, and we're really packed up the hill at the community center. Having St. Mary's and the Duluth Clinic just together decide to cover what we expect to be the whole interior renovation cost with these two big contributions is phenomenal response on their part.
The taxpayer group Fight has been collecting signatures for the last 30 days. They're trying to reverse a county board decision to sell over $5 million worth of bonds for courthouse improvements and to build 2 lockups on the Iron Range. The group collected over 8,000 signatures. They need 5,100 signatures verified by the St. Louis County Auditor's Office.
We're not sure how many are here. It could take a while. What we will determine first is just a rough number to make sure that we are over the 5,000 potentially valid signatures.
The county auditor's office, with the close watch from Fight, will now add up the numbers.
What we're doing now is counting the petitions. The number, we are not verifying signatures. We are simply counting the number of petitions. We will write a receipt for the number received. They will sign the receipt. We'll sign the receipt so we agree on the numbers.
Fight Director Tom Paradise thinks he has all the signatures needed, but is still closely watching the county office to see who they disqualify.
The concern that we have, if we do have a concern, is that they might be too hasty to disqualify a signature on the petition. But we're also going to ask that they give us a written reason for disqualifying a signature.
Paradise says this is a message from taxpayers that the people of St. Louis County are sick of having their property taxes increased and sick of what he calls wasteful spending. If at least 5,100 petition signatures are verified, it's up to the county board for the next step. They can resend the resolution with a different plan, or they can put the issue up for a vote by the people of the county. For now, they have stopped the sale of the bonds that was supposed to go forward next week. In Duluth, Kim Steininger, Channel 6 News.
I'll do that. I got my phone. Okay. I know you're not.
We're here celebrating a decade of decline and a decade of recovery. All through the 1980s, we saw taconite decline, 28,000 people move out of northeastern Minnesota, the production declined, jobs went. Now the economy has turned around. Now we're rebuilding. We now have the
Wisconsin's South Shore, waves crashed into the frozen land in the first major storm of the year. On land, slick roads with blowing snow made driving almost impossible.
Well, there's snow covered and icy, and it does not good to apply no chloride because it don't work when the wind is blowing like this. It just sticks on it and makes it all the worse.
In Port Wing, lots of snow added to the festive holiday spirit. Blizzards like this are miserable for most people, but for kids at this school, it's a day of fun.
I think I'm just gonna go sledding, and hopefully I don't go in the ditch on the way home.
At South Shore schools, classes were let out at noon.
All of our students are basically either coming in on the school buses or they are driving, and the back roads can be pretty treacherous around here. And
The conditions were terrible. I was all over the road. I was going like this. I was almost in the ditch like several times.
We ended up there, but one good thing we can say about this storm, the bad weather brings out the good in people, especially those who help you out. On the South Shore, Maureen Tellerico, Channel 6 News. These blood donors are making the holidays a lot merrier for people they will likely never know. By giving just 1 pint of blood, a person can help 3 people.
Say a cancer patient needed platelets, then they would get just the platelets. If a surgery patient needed blood, they get just the red blood cells. Burn victims may get plasma.
Unfortunately, blood donations are down during the time they're needed the most. During the holiday season, more people are in accidents or opt to have elective surgery. And regular donors often are too busy to make the time to donate.
Yeah, I really think during the holidays, people are busy getting their last-minute Christmas shopping done. They're going to the holiday party, making sure everything is taken care of, and they actually forget to donate blood. And we want to remind them that all year long, especially during the holidays, we still need people to donate blood.
Most people are afraid of giving blood because they're afraid of the needle. But as you can see, it's really not that bad. The entire process of donating your blood takes about an hour, but the actual time the needle is in your arm is only about 10 minutes. Each week, area hospitals require blood from a minimum of 350 donors. And while the need is great, only 5% of the eligible population ever donates blood. So this Christmas, if you're wondering what to give, think about giving something that will help others. And despite the needle, will bring you satisfaction as well. In Duluth, Maureen Tellerico, Channel 6 News.
The first time was just amazing.
Thank you.